Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. You and your group of adventurers are cornered by several demonic creatures in a giant three-headed chimera. We are at the end of the anime, Saihate no Paladin. Episodes 10, 11 and 12. In his conversation with the prince, William tries to defend his cause with all sincerity and his honor, stating that he carries with him part of Gracefield's flame. In this way, all who carry this light must first march against the darkness, spread hope to those who mourn in the darkness, and light the way for those who follow. The young man once again asks the ruler for permission to support him in his idea, but Ethelbald answers that this will be a path of losses and sacrifices. In order to avoid future losses in his kingdom, he denies the request again. But the persistent young man keeps questioning him about his decision, until everyone in the room is surprised by the unexpected arrival of Bishop Bagley, who angrily tells the prince that his actions were wrong. After all, that young man was registered in his temple, and therefore the bishop has to be informed before calling the traveler to the palace. Ethelbald tells the religious leader that he has got it wrong, for this young man has come to him to ask for the creation of an army to fight against the bloodthirsty demons of the forest, so the ruler has the brilliant idea of appointing William as a knight, specifically a paladin. In this way, the temple and he would share the responsibility of the young man and the prophets equally. The prince then asks the bishop to give the young man his blessing, but Bagley is wary of the whole idea, thus asking for more time to think about the proposal, and finally, the young man leaves the royal palace with his friend, accompanied by the religious lord. On the way back to the sanctuary, the religious leader ends up arguing with Manel about his negligence, and during all this discussion, William meets the bishop's daughter. Her name is Anna. The nice girl explains that she is not blood related to her father. She lived in an orphanage in another town and Bagley had his temple there, but when he came to Whitesales, the young woman proposed to come along with him. The paladin then thanks the religious leader for his help with the crown prince. The bishop then replies that there is no reason to thank him. After all, he has only done his role as temple authority and is still thinking about the proposal he received. He then warns the young man that he must remain in the chapel after the evening prayer. William says yes, but quickly asks him what the evening prayer is. The bishop doesn't understand how it is possible that he doesn't know this, but finds out that the paladin knows the prayer by the names Vespers and Compline. Bagley then concludes that the young man has already had some study on sacred practices, but his concepts were very old. He asks his daughter to give the young man some current books on the subject and to find a teacher as well. In the temple, the paladin observes the way the bishop prays, which is frighteningly masterful, very reminiscent of the way Mary used to pray. Understanding his ideas and principles, the young man realizes that this man is really talented, though he appears to be rude and greedy, in the end a person who always complains. Bagley advises the young man to change his mind, stating that he will end up in trouble if he continues with this plan, volunteering to refuse the prince's offer to help him. William refuses any help, telling him that his goddess protector wants to achieve something through him, and that he will offer his life to her, thus banishing all evil and saving the suffering. The bishop, hearing this, calls the young man stupid but confirms that he will get some people to help him in his mission. However, the rest is only up to him. The paladin thanks him and in his thoughts, has the idea to respect that man, no matter what others say. In a tavern, William and Manel search for people who would be willing to join their army. However, the men in that place question the low pay for that mission, their rewards being glory and praise, and finally, there is no guarantee that they will survive. And listening to all the discussion about the quality of that work, a mysterious man asks them to shut up, so the crowd breaks up. The guy then asks if the adventurers are after trained warriors who have a love for their lives or a bunch of idiots who don't know what fear is and have never gone through proper training, in order to risk their lives for the most idiotic ideals. William replies that this is the reason they are there, but is soon called a lunatic by the warriors present. Anyway, they ask what the purpose of the mission is, and the paladin replies that it is the head of the demons, at which point everyone in the place is amazed by the answer. The mysterious man says that the location of the head of the demons is very vague and that if they were ambushed at night it would mean certain elimination, but this seemed like a pleasant, fun and stupid adventure. After a brief silence, the warrior says that he is willing to participate, and with this, other people who were in the place also volunteer for the great mission. William introduces himself and the warrior shakes his hand, saying that his name is Roystiv. That night the group of adventurers gather in a room. Antonio, the merchant, begins to calculate how much he will spend to buy cows and horses for the residents of the Forest of Beasts. The paladin comes up with the idea of trading the sick and injured animals for a lower price, so that he can heal them himself. Manel tells his friend to learn quickly how the business world works, then asks if he is really going to negotiate with Raistov and the other men in the tavern. B, upon hearing Raistov's name, asks William to take her to interview him. When they arrive at the tavern, the little minstrel is disappointed with the answers from the warrior who carried with him the title of middleman. According to the girl, he always takes a job to bring down a great threat, appears suddenly, delivers the final blow, and leaves, and so the stories about him become incomplete and lacking in detail. B then proposes a song about a battle between the paladin and the middleman. William thinks that idea is crazy, but Rostov says he does not refuse any challenge. The young man then answers that after the mission against the head of the demons there may be a duel between them. The next day, in an important ceremony, William is blessed by the temple's vice-bishop and made a true knight by Prince Ethelbald, once and for all becoming a paladin of the faraway lands. From that day on, events proceeded at a very fast pace. After obtaining official permission from the crown prince in the temple, the young adventurer set out with his team of warriors to begin the process of exterminating dangerous demons. And in the villages that had already suffered the attacks, they helped with human support and supplies. In the small village, some priestesses sent by Bishop Bagley are healing and giving blessings to the injured villagers, while Rostov's group annihilates any demons that come near the place. William intervenes in any fights between villagers and tries to help them to solve all problems peacefully. Walking around the outskirts of the village, the young man realizes that there has been an incredible change. The atmosphere was different, people were happy, and even the merchants had returned to the place. In his tent, William is visited by Rostov, who alerts the young man that an expedition group led by Pip has gone west and so far has not returned, making it clear that they did not plan to spend more than 10 days investigating. The paladin immediately replies that the two of them will go out in search of the group along with Manel, as well as other warriors who are prominent in logging. The adventurers then leave the village in search of their companions, William believing that due to Pip's skills, they would not get lost easily, which strongly indicated that they might have been ambushed by demons. While they are walking through the forest, Manel calls out to the paladin, and on that occasion, he with a downcast look thanks his friend for everything he has done. After all, if it weren't for him, he might not even be alive anymore. William is happy to hear those words but asks that next time the elf say it looking at him. The young archer then gets angry and walks away very angry with that comment. The group continues following the forest paths, until they come across the corpses of their companions in a valley. The warriors who were searching find a giant footprint on the ground and imagine that their friends were eliminated by that thing. The men quickly put the bodies in one place while William says a prayer to Gracefield to grant them peace and guidance. Rostov comments that the head is missing from one of the bodies. The warriors there comment that perhaps it has been eaten by some creature. But Manel observes a trail of equipment lying on the ground leading to the end of the valley. The group then walks along that trail and at the end of it they come across the missing head. However, the paladin realizes that it was a trap and in an instant they all find themselves surrounded by demons. The group then realizes that there is no way back into the forest. They quickly set up a defense formation near the rocks. William asks Manel for help so that they can both strengthen the warriors and their equipment with their prayers and blessings, so that their allies are strengthened with the power of their prayer. The young elf and his companions prepare a formation with bow and arrow. As soon as the demons start coming towards them, they start shooting at the creatures, but this is not enough, causing the group to enter a defensive formation. Unexpectedly, a gigantic creature with 3 heads appears behind the heroes. William asks Manel to try to protect them at least for that instant. The young archer begins to say his prayer to create an earth barrier, but before he can complete his plea, the creature brutally attacks him with its claws, throwing him far away, being intensely wounded and fainting. The paladin, looking at that situation, goes into despair and tries to cast an electricity spell to immobilize and cause area damage to his enemies, but his spell is cancelled in the middle because a demonic serpent struck him on the back, causing the lightning to fall on himself. William falls to his knees on the ground after being hit by his own blow, but he also wonders why this is happening if everything was going so well. At that moment, the demons were already preparing to attack the young man when he quickly has its head cut in half with just one cut. The paladin, overcome by rage, draws his overeater sword and begins his slaughter against the demons, cutting, slicing and piercing all the demonic creatures that were in that area without caring about being wounded. After all, his sword could regenerate as he struck the creatures. Rostov, realizing that the young man was going out of his mind, holds him and asks him to go and heal his elf friend. William then runs towards Manel and realizes that his body was full of wounds. He prays to Gracefield to heal him, but in the process, he faints from exhaustion. Waking up in a bed, the young man asks where he is, and Rostov answers that they are in a village near the place of the attack, and says that everyone managed to get out of that valley, but unfortunately the giant chimera escaped. The paladin asks about his friend, and the warrior tells him that his prayer healed the young man's wounds, but that he is still unconscious. William is shaken by it all. After all, he is the Wyvern Destroyer and everyone calls him a hero, but when his friend needed his help the most, he couldn't help him. Overcome with sadness, the young man walks through the village with a downcast look of remorse, goes to the house where Manel is unconscious, and at the foot of the bed, He kneels down and asks the gods to have mercy on him and heal his friend. William wonders about not being able to do without someone by his side. For this reason he was always trying to save the people he met on his way. Driven by this despicable motive, he claims that this is what almost eliminated his companion. He talks to Gracefeel, the goddess of light, and explains that she must not have that sad look on her face because from now on, he would save everyone he met, defeat any demons in his path, and in this way put an end to everything, all by himself. Leaving the village, William comes across Manel, who asks him what he is thinking of doing. The young man then answers that he is going to finish off the demons in the Chimera alone. After all, if he were to go with other people, he would have to protect them and this would hinder the mission. The young elf is enraged at this and punches William in the face. But the young man says that was too weak. Then Manel continues throwing kicks and punches, but the paladin dodges them all with incredible ease. In order to contain the whole situation, William breaks his friend's arm and tells him to look for someone to heal him. The young archer then conjures a magic that throws several rocks in his own direction. His friend, realizing this, puts himself in front of the attack and then gets a kick in the face from Manel. The young elf then calls his companion an emotionally unstable coward, and that he is out of control. But as he is his friend and would be willing to do whatever possible to save him. Also stating that he was not a monster but a good-hearted person. William then apologizes to Manel and the two make up and return to the village. The young man apologizes to his companions and says that this will not happen again. Manel then says that he intends to have a revenge against that demonic three-headed beast, but the paladin explains that the chimera is not naturally born but was the result of a ritual. The young man promises a silver coin for the demon's head and 10 gold coins for the head of the demons. When the warriors hear this, they rejoice and begin preparations for the great battle against the creature. The group prepared from that day on and sent out scouts to analyze the danger area. They trained in various formations but did not have a concrete plan. They were just going to hit the enemy head-on with all their might. When they arrive at the place, the whole team gets into formation. The demons start coming in their direction. The shields are put in front, the spearmen on the straight guard and the archers at a perfect distance to shoot their arrows. Part of the creatures are eliminated with the fire arrows and another part and defeated with swords and spears. In this way the warriors continue advancing without fear of danger. In the city of White Sails, the prince talks to the bishop about the mission to destroy the demons commanded by the Wyvern Slayer. He questions whether the paladin will succeed in his mission, but the religious leader tells him that he had all the help he needed and if he cannot complete his goal, he will not be worthy of his support. Back in the war against the demonic creatures, William and Manel approach a ruin but realize that there are no enemies nearby and start walking, but the paladin takes notice and uses his magic of revelation, thus discovering that the chimera was in front of him but using his power of invisibility. The huge beast tries to strike a blow at the young man, but he dodges it and strikes back by piercing his spear through the creature's middle head. It then begins to fly and prepares to attack with a thrust. The left head conjures fire arrows in the elf's direction, but he blocks them by conjuring a shield of magic in front of him. William dodges the attack and strikes the creature from the side. The young elf pins the creature's paws to the ground with his spell, and the paladin takes the opportunity to attack it once again, at which point the archer fires an arrow that pierces the eye of its left head, leaving it bewildered with so much pain. Manel blesses his arrow with magic and thus manages to make a shot capable of cutting off the beast's serpentine tail. William takes advantage of the situation and immediately lands a powerful blow to its left head, and also manages to defeat it. The young man dodges another attack and with the help of his friend, he manages to pierce the right head with his spear. The paladin uses his acceleration magic, goes to the top of the creature and comes down with a sharp blow to the middle head, ending the chimera once and for all. When they enter the fortress they think they are the first, but Rastov had already arrived and defeated the demon boss. He then says that the 10 gold coins are his. After all, he went around and the two young men served as a distraction for the chimera while it defeated the demon boss. William is impressed with all his power, and with the arrival of his other companions on the scene, they can finally celebrate their long-awaited victory. It seems that William didn't make it in time for his final battle with the demon boss. Will these creatures still return to seek revenge? So, what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.